Mr. Cross, how you doing, sir?
Doing great, doing great. Justin, how are you doing today?
Looking good. So thanks for joining our podcast, Froelich FM. You're
Okay.
actually our first podcast interview. So
Great, great.
shit,
Happy to be here.
good. So what made you get into the business you're in?
Oh, I started my agency just because I basically I didn't like having a boss. I wanted to have a little control over my own income and my own career. That's how we landed. I started by myself and kind of growing over time, and it's kind of how I landed probably on this podcast is because, as we grew, I think we were 7 or 8 years in, and we got to the place where should I keep renting or should I purchase a building?
Yeah,
That's kind of where we got to.
nice. So what does a day look like in the life of the Mr. Wonderful Cross?
Uh, uh, if I'm not out golfing, right, a day in work, just coming in, making sure everybody in the office has what they need from me. That's my main goal. That's my number one priority here and responsibility is um, making sure everyone here at the office is able to work, has what they need to work, and I'm not creating any obstacles or roadblocks or hurdles for them. I'm just trying to make their days efficient.
Yeah, I mean, just like in business and personal life, it's all you surround yourself with.
You betcha, you betcha. We live by the Steve Jobs quote. Don't hire smart people and tell them what to do. We hire smart people and let them tell me what to do. Right?
Sean Lane.
Yep, yep.
Good. So how's it being a building owner?
It has its ups and downs, right? Probably on your guys' scale, we're probably on the smaller end, but yeah, it's days are great when I don't have to worry about rent, and I know what my building's an asset. My money's going towards it, but it's also something I got to protect, and it's you have when you're own versus renting, you have more
Sure.
headaches, right? Yeah, so especially with this one, when we purchased this one in 2017, it was empty for a couple of years. It was vacant. We kind of knew what we were getting into a little bit, not maybe not to the full degree, but yeah, it's been an experience.
To say the least. Good. So where do you see your growth a year from now or 2 years from now?
Well, hopefully we're on the same trajectory we've been on for a while. We double down. We're all mostly digital, so we have clients across the globe. We have a stronghold here in our area in Northeast Ohio. But um, as we get wider with our services, we're also trying to get deeper, becoming, authorities in our space and experts in our space,
Mhm.
and just cultivating that culture for constant education,
Yep.
constantly learning, because our world changes every single day. One of our platforms or Meta or LinkedIn, something could change
Sure.
overnight. Google, and we just basically got to roll with it, and we just got to be ready and be flexible. Our staff and in our world, you can't be rigid, you can't be an old timer, you can't be
Sure.
so
Sure.
focused on just hey, this is how I've always done it. You can't be like that in our
Yeah, it's funny you say that. It's similar with us. Our big differentiator with TEMA is that same kind of approach. We're private negotiated contractors, so we're not bidding contractors. We're not doing what everybody else is doing, just knowing how to bid, bid, bid. We're like you, we take the relationship aspect. So
yeah.
it's good to hear you say that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, probably similar to you guys. We stopped submitting that RFP process.
Sure.
I get probably one a week, maybe two a week, and they just go straight in the trash can. I don't even read them anymore, just because we're not a number, right? We're way more as a relationship, and we ask the hard questions that um, people don't always necessarily think about in our business and what we're trying to
Yep.
do.
Yep.
So yeah, we don't ever want to just be a proposal and just one of those shops where we're just firing stuff out. Yeah.
Yeah, that's never made sense to me, but that's why there's so many sandboxes out there, right? What a plan.
Yep. Yeah.
Nice. So what's the number one reason somebody should do business with you?
With us, I think it is the relationship. I have a couple things that I always tell people. The number one thing that I'm always going to ask business owners that they probably aren't accustomed to is I just ask why a
Sure.
lot, because they're just used to saying things, and have they questioned themselves for a while? Have they questioned their own strategy for a while? Have they just delegated and pushed? Hey, this is what we're doing. Well, why are you doing that? What's the goal? And the other thing that we do is or I do is I'm not a yes man. I'm the very first one to say no. If you want something and I don't think it aligns with your goal, or I don't think it aligns with where you're trying to achieve or where you're trying to go, I'm going to question you on the why. And then if I don't agree with you, I'm going to tell you no. Because you're not coming to me just to be in, or our staff. You're not coming to us just to execute, right? If you wanted that, just hire a side freelancer, right? And just do that on the side.
Sure.
Um, you're coming to us for our experience and our expertise. So utilize it. So those are things that we do.
Well, you're probably a yes man with your wife.
Oh yeah. Well, she'd probably like it if I was more.
And you guys work together, right?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yep. For the longest time, she used to sit on the opposite corner of the building from me, just to keep our home life good. But yep, yeah, we found some balance there. It's nice. It's the best thing about it is I have somebody in here that without any reservations I can
Sure.
fully trust, right? And I know she has the business's best interest at heart, the client's best interest at heart, and she's always here, and as I am for her
Nice.
to do that. Yep. Well, I have, my oldest son, he works with me, and it's one of those things where I've always been trying to figure out the best way to guide. And actually, one of the last couple of years, in our area, I just been trying to grab coffee, buy lunch for somebody that is in a family business, just so I can understand, hey, from the child aspect or the second and third generation, what were some great things that your parents or parent did for you in the business to help set you up for success? And also, you usually don't have to ask the questions, well, what they do to screw you up or how did they derail you? Because that's common. Like, I wish they would have done more like this, but most times, like, there's always one or two nuggets that I get from those. And I've probably done 5 or 10 of them over the last couple of years of just, yeah, I never, some of the things I was doing, but I wasn't consciously or strategically doing them, with
Sure.
my son. But I think over the last year and a half, it's helped him, kind of hockey stick with what he does here and how he does things for us, and escalated his career quite a bit. Yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah.
Very cool stuff.
The weird thing is just getting called Steve at work. It just it's still odd after
Right.
I think he's been here
It
for
was
5 years.
funny. Your dad.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly.
Smart.
Yeah, yep, yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's all, it's family. Obviously, there's a lot of different aspects of it, but the culture, that foundation, in working out of work is what keeps everybody coming back.
You bet.
So,
You bet. It brings a smile to your face when you show up. Even if you had a bad day at home or a bad day at work, um, you got some familiar faces that you can trust when
yeah,
you show up to work. And that you can always rely on that. That's a good foundation to build on.
it's nice when people have your back.
For sure. For sure.
Speaking of having backs, so you have the facility. We've helped you out with roofing.
Yep.
What experience was that like?
Well, the first is just, having somebody you can trust. We had, like I said, we bought the building in 17. I knew we were getting into basically probably not a great decision to buy the building the way it was, but we got a good
Right.
deal on it. When we first purchased it, I knew we needed a new parking lot. Um, HVAC system, we have three systems here. I knew they were kind of up in the air. Hopefully, we're going to get a couple years out of them. Hopefully, they didn't all go at the same time. And I
Yeah,
knew
yeah,
we were going to have to do something to the roof. So our goal was then, what do I do first? What do I plan? What to kind of, what can I patch? Do some patchwork without having that huge, expenditure out, that capital
yep,
expenditure out. And I kind of worked with Tom and Scott on that of what do I do? And your dad was pivotal in the decision. He's like, don't do a roof yet. Let us get up there. Let's see what we got. Let's do, get you a couple years. First thing you should do, and I think he saw it because he's like, first thing you need to do is your parking lot. And I think because he probably fell on the way in with a pothole or something. But he's like, nope, let us get up there, Steve. I know you're going to use us when you need us. The best thing for you in this asset and this property, because he looked at the whole property, right? He didn't look at just the building,
yeah, yeah,
which was unique because I'm like, oh, because first time I had owned a building, first time ever.
yeah,
So that was great that he was just being a resource, right? He was just helping me,
yep,
not selling me. Maybe it was a sale, but it was a sales pitch, but it was a very soft, passive, consultative type of approach, which then when we did get to that point, a couple years later, we had the building, the parking lot done, there's 50 grand for that. Then I know we're going to have a chunk going out for the roof. It's all right. How do we prepare for this? So, they came in and gave us the options. I think we had like three options of, hey, here's top of the line. And they said it with kind of hey, we don't think you need this, but we want to show it to you. We don't, then there was the
Yep.
middle of the road, what we ended up ultimately going with. And then there was hey, well, we can continue patching and doing what we're doing right now, but you're getting to the point where you're wasting money. You need to
Sure.
do something more than that. So I think it was in 19 maybe, that we, then did the re-roof, and I don't even understand all the projects or what you guys did, but I just know that I don't have leaks anymore and I don't have to worry about it anymore, which is just a huge, weight off my shoulder, when you have an asset like this that you don't have to worry about it. And I think at the end of the day, that's all I care about. I wanted to do this you know, for financial reasons, right? Not rent, just to buy,
Yep.
to have this asset. But at the end of the day, I didn't realize what I was getting into with the risk and the stress of it. And it ended up, using TEMA ended up helping me relieve some of that stress and not have to worry about it. So,
Yeah, and I appreciate that. That was a fun project, and I think it worked out good for everybody. And like anything else, when you make an investment, you want it to last as long as possible. So we come back a couple times a year and do preventative stuff. We clean out the leaves, we clean out the gutters, all the fun little nuances that go on with a roofing system, especially after the winter we just had. So, extending the life, being proactive with a good maintenance program is probably what we're best known for. And I'm glad it makes sense to you because it's amazing that it doesn't make sense to some folks.
yeah, well, I just, you guys did the roof, so why wouldn't I allow you guys to maintain it? It just makes sense to me. Like I didn't even go out for quotes or didn't even check anything else out because it didn't even make any sense. Because if you're going to go to a company or a vendor or a consultant for this large expenditure and this large project, why not allow them to set you up for long-term success, not just short-term success? So it's great. Yeah, I get an email. How often? I don't even know how often you guys come out. Is it quarterly? Twice a year? Once a year?
Biannually. So
Yeah.
it's spring and fall.
Yep. Yeah. So I just get an email. Can we come out this day? And it's always just, yeah, come out. And then I get an email afterwards. I look at the pictures because it's cool with the portal that you guys have set up. I just look at the pictures to see what was up there and what they did. It takes 5 minutes and I move on through my day, and it's as easy as that.
Yeah, and it's, a really helpful tool because, roofs are big and, we are in the elements. There's leaves, there's branches, there's all sorts of stuff that goes on a system. So to be able to catch little things before they get big, upgrades and repairs, provide you with budgets for, okay, we've got 5 years left with this thing, 10 years left with this thing. Start planning now.
Right. Yeah.
So to your point earlier, it's definitely a partnership and that's the way it works. It's fantastic.
Yeah. And I know you probably have a lot of people that are way more experienced in this than I am. So I just kind of lean on you guys of, hey, whenever something needs done or whenever that point comes, they're gonna come to me and tell me. So it's more hands off for me of just, hey, literally I can offload this to TEMA and I don't have to worry about it. When something comes up, they're gonna tell me what's up and when it's coming down the line and when I need to start, like you said, forecasting. Hopefully we're not there for another few years, but for those larger projects again.
Yeah, and we have a couple big national accounts where the value for that is a big add for them because they have CFOs and they have boards and they really have to plan for their CapEx. So having the right partners throughout the nation and um, the right infrared scan partners, the right engineers, it's a team aspect instead of just, hey, I've got a leak, come on out.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's worked great locally,
I can
nationally,
imagine.
and we're having a ball, man.
I can imagine. I can
Everybody's
imagine.
staying dry, so we're good.
That's always a plus, right?
Yeah. Good stuff, Steve. Well, listen, I really appreciate your time. Everybody, iSynergy is fantastic. We appreciate the business. More importantly, we appreciate your friendship. And we'd like to have you back on maybe a few years down the road. And definitely when you're on your third or fourth building, give us a call.
Oh yeah, sounds great. Sounds great. Thanks, Justin. Thanks
Awesome.
for having me on.